Game one, um, it's here. It's here. It's upon us. It's glad to have two, a scrimmage and an exhibition. Those were great learning tools for us. It's exciting to go through the experiences that we went through in terms of putting our guys out there in front of 15,000. The nerves, letting guys find their pregame routine. What that's like, and then a scrimmage where you could actually coach and teach and learn a lot. Both those scenarios were very, very beneficial. Now we get to do it where they count, and we've got EIU coming in here right down the road. Have one of the best coaches in the country, in my opinion. Marty is an unbelievable tactician, unbelievable teacher. He's turned that around, in my opinion, pretty quick. I've liked what I've seen in terms of their team. They're very good. They've got obviously a guy we know very well in Jermaine Hamlin. We know what type of athlete Jermaine is. His staff has done a nice job of replacing with talent. And so you look forward to these challenges early in the season when you face a well-coached team. They run great actions. They run great stuff. It's one of those things that Marty's going to counter what you do, and maybe once or twice. So it's good for the coaching staff as well to face a guy like that. So we're excited. We're excited to put our group out there. Again, there's still a lot of role identification out in front of us to come. We'll see how that all plays out. We've been able to define a few things, not a lot yet, but I'm very curious to see our pace, our communication. I'm very, very excited to see how this team how we play in terms of not turn the ball over. And one of the things I'm, cautious about is, we don't have tons of game experience. And, there's going to be some slippage, and I'm really curious to see how quickly we grow. I thought we've made a ton of improvement here in the last week since our exhibition with Quincy. And it'd be nice to see that carry over to a real game.
I mean, what's the challenge of scouting teams now, especially early in the season where, like Eastern, like you, it's a very different roster, and that's going to be kind of similar kind of throughout the season?
Yeah, I think it's much more difficult. I think you know coaches and tendencies. I've followed Marty's teams for years when he was at Evansville, and tendencies. Obviously, having Jeff on staff with Marty, and knowing some of his tendencies, you coach those maybe a little more than you coach personnel because you don't know exactly those guys' strengths, and that's one of the challenges. With all this roster turnover and completely new deals, it's they've also got the same scenario. Again, it's adapting on the fly. I think you got to be able here early to see what teams throw at you. It's you want your foundation, and there may be some stuff on the periphery that you haven't spent enough time on. That's very typical in the early season. So, we'll see. We'll have to adapt, and we'll have to lean on our veterans who've hopefully seen just about everything.
In the exhibition, you guys ran a lot of full court defensive press stuff. I mean, what kind of advantages do you see from kind of maybe pivoting towards kind of doing that a little more this year?
Yeah, it's to be very honest, it's very, very conservative. All it is extending the floor. It's about disruption. If we get it, we'll continue to get better at it as we move along. I think it's more about disruption. It's more about a short clock. It's more about the process of having teams have to prepare for it, having to face it, having to know that I think we've got quickness, length, depth at some of those spots, and if somebody is a little out of control and pitches one in the third row, great. If they throw it to us, great. But it's not about creating a whole ton of turnovers. It's more about being disruptive, trying not to foul. We committed way too many fouls in the Quincy exhibition. Doing that, those are big mistakes from our standpoint. But again, it's more just about disruption and then settling in the half court and seeing if we can throw a team off kilter a little bit.
Brad, with the relative newness of the roster together, is there a different balance you have to strike right now at this time of year of focus on you as a team versus game prep and opponents and scouting?
Yeah, we always put a significant amount of time in our opponents. There's no doubt. I think that you can't cover every scenario that you might see in a game. When you face yourself, teams have different tendencies. So there is a different level. That can be very much the same in personnel. You might face a 7-foot center who's big, and you can't simulate that in practice. Or you might face a small guard, so they're just different things that scouting is very, very important. It is one of the biggest differences for newcomers to a program and especially freshmen is the scouting aspect. And we don't want people to do their strengths, and they're not going to allow us to do their strengths. Most freshmen have never had that, and they've been so good that they've been able to do it anyway, even if somebody did. That's not the case at this level anymore. So scouting's vital. We have our foundation. We live with our foundation, and then we'll make adjustments accordingly.
Two, if I could. The first one's kind of a housekeeping. Looks like Sky was playing with like a brace or a protection on his shoulder. Is that something was that just for preventative measures or something he's dealing with there?
It's an ongoing deal that he's had for quite some time, really, before he got here. And so it's just a preventive deal, pretty much like Trent was last year.
And then RJ said Sincere reminds him a lot of Trent Frazier. We saw the headband and obviously the jersey number kind of furthers that. Have you guys sat down, you two, or maybe you're coaching him and kind of looked at Trent's film and tried to find some parallels defensively?
We show Trent's film to everybody. Trent was so good. There's a lot of Trent. There's a lot of Trent in everything we do. They're probably sick of hearing about Trent already. But it's, there are certain similarities. I think Sincere does some things at a young age much better than Trent did, and vice versa. But the one thing that Sincere has is that he and Trent are very similar, very, very competitive, very personal on the defensive side. It's very, very personal to take people out of what they do and to be competitive. And they've both got the tools, the quickness. They're both real twitchy. And Trent didn't have all that as a freshman. That was something that he had to grind with and develop. But Sincere's got a lot of that that competitive fire already.
Brad, what does a post-Kofi world look like on the glass, specifically what you're asking your wings to do that maybe they didn't have to do last year?
7-8 a game. I heard RJ mention that. I'm so glad he mentioned that because his go rate, especially on the offensive end, hasn't been great. We've got a defensive rebound. We got size, we got length, we've got athleticism. You've got to swarm. We call it swarm the ball. We've got to get guards. Sky, Sincere, Epps, Ty Rogers. We've got to get all those guys chasing loose balls, and we can't be relying upon Coleman and Dane and big guys, Brandon and all those guys to get rebounds. Sometimes they're fighting. Sometimes it's their job to make sure the other team doesn't get it, and those other guys got to come in and get it. And I use Kansas as a great example. If you look at their numbers of their wings last year, Christian Brown 7, Obaji 8, Jalen Wilson was 7 or 8. yeah, we got to mimic that. We have to have, Terrence Shannon can't get to a game like he did last year. He cannot. He's got to be up there and getting 7, 8, 9 rebounds a game. He can score 4, 6, 8 points a game on the offensive glass if he goes, just because he's tenacious. And RJ, that's a strength. So it's group rebounding. It's not one guy, and that's going to be a huge piece for us.
How did that film session go after Quincy, and what's your approach been knowing that with young guys there's going to be mistakes, with a new play style there's going to be some mistakes?
Yeah, it was. I got to shoot around an hour before the Quincy shoot around, an hour, and every freshman was on the court and they were already in a full lather, and I said, guys, we got to slow down here. It's just it was just everything was hyper speed, and hyper just sensitive. It was, there wasn't the relaxed, okay, this is my process. This is how we do it. They were excited to play. They were excited to be at home. They have to figure out what their routine is. And, once we get there for shoot around, we had a 1:45 shoot around for a 7 o'clock game. Our guys don't leave. They're here. We eat pregame. They're not allowed to leave the building. So finding that comfort is important. You think that I think one of the challenges with playing a little bit different, and it's not as big as everybody thinks, but playing a little bit different, but playing with young guys, my challenge is you understand that there's one mistake that can happen that a veteran may not make. Your challenge then becomes, do they make it over and over and over and over? And that's when you have to go to the bench. That's when you have a problem learning, or you're overwhelmed. We haven't had that. We didn't have that in our scrimmage. We didn't have that. We played with nerves the other night. But for me, young guys playing is based solely upon their ability to, okay, I made a mistake, learn from it. And the guys that have to sometimes go to the bench, it takes a little while longer, keep repeating that mistake. So that's what I'm looking for a lot with our young guys.
Coach, Matthew Meyer didn't quite seem in the flow in that game against Quincy. Would you attribute that to just not being here, lack of playing time, lack of practice?
I think we can't forget he's been ingrained in a system for 4 years. Now it's different. Now our expectation level is a little bit different. I didn't think he played bad. I think he missed some shots that we see him make. I think that he's still finding his way into great shape. I think he's still finding out where his opportunities come from. We've seen unbelievable Matthew in practice, and it's a matter of time before that translates. I think that he was like anybody else. He was a little nervous, a little uptight. I think Terrence was. We saw an unbelievable Terrence in our scrimmage. So I think it's just everybody just becoming comfortable and relaxing, slowing down, understanding that, okay, we're going to play really hard. We're going to try to play a certain way, but there's got to be a deep breath, in there to relax. And guys are settling into their roles. We've worked really hard on that this week with certain guys where their opportunities come. So didn't stress too much over that in scrimmages and exhibitions. It was about getting a ton of guys minutes, and we accomplished that.
Second one, if I could. Marty Simmons got a history in this building. Do you remember him when he was back at Lawrenceville?
I played against him when he was at Indiana. I know he's a daggum good player. And, that was, when I was at Kansas State, we played Indiana. It was those were awfully good Indiana teams, and I know he was a part of it before he left and went to Evansville and continued a great career. But I know he's a terrific player, and he's he's become a very good head coach, and I think he's one of the great tacticians in all of college basketball.
Hey, Brad in the back. Was Luke's surgery successful, and is there any update post-surgery as like a timeline coming back?
Yeah, he had unbelievable positive surgery. There wasn't anything that was anything more complicated or complex, or it was pretty much straightforward. Then he's back. He's in the recovery process. The doctors gave him a pretty stringent plan. That's the one thing about Luke Goody that I know is he's going to do everything that he's supposed to do, and then probably some. And then there will be a reevaluation 6 weeks.
Okay. And then real quick here, your first game here was that exhibition game at EIU.
I knew somebody was going to
I
bring
know,
that crap
right?
up. I mean, somebody just had to go there, right?
I did. What do you remember about that, and what does that say about how far your program has come?
I remember Trent crying after the game, saying he couldn't play here. I remember wondering if we were ever going to win a game that year. I think we just got thoroughly outplayed, we just got whooped. And that's okay. I think that you have to go through those moments that I think Trent's career turned out okay. But you have to go through those moments to really get to where you want to go. I think we all want, okay, Brad Underwood's a new head coach. We're going to walk in here and win, and we're going to whoop everybody's butt. No, it doesn't work like that. And there's very, very much a process in college athletics to how you do it. And very few people walk into, a blue blood and have instant success. It takes a lot of work. I'm excited where we've become, winningest team in the Big Ten in the last 3 years, and in the 3 best years of the league too. I'm excited about that. I think we've got really good players, that success. Always, I'll never forget the Eastern game. I'll never forget it. You remember the bad ones probably more than you remember the good ones, but it's quite a spectrum from that Eastern game, the first go around, to the last game of last season, and everything that's happened in between had to happen for a reason, and all of you and all the fans here got to go along for the ride as well. So it's we're in a good place. We're in a better place than we were then, and I know we got to show up and win and play to win, or this Eastern team is good and extremely well coached.
Kind of a follow-up, and scheduling is a big puzzle to solve, and in-state schools don't often get on the non-conference schedule. So how and why did Eastern come about for this year?
I think it fit. I mean, obviously, you look for things that may challenge you. You look, there's obvious ties. Their athletic director, is a connection. The proximity is a connection. I personally, I like to be able to help. I mean, there's a guarantee check going their way. I like to be able to help when I can and when we can those schools, and allows their fans to be able to travel a short distance and play in the State Farm Center, and so I don't love playing against former players. It's not my favorite deal, but it's also probably going to be the new norm. So I got a lot of love for Jermaine and his development through his career, but it just worked. It just was one of those that kind of fit the right time and the right place, and the opening in the schedule, and we're excited to have him coming in.
I mean, even if your press is more an extension of the half-court defense, disruptive, do you have guys you see like they're kind of thriving in, putting that pressure 94 feet?
Oh, Coleman's elite. Coleman's elite in it. I think that TJ has great quickness. I think that it can be, we mentioned Sincere. I think Jaden Epps. I think those guys have the ability. I think RJ, with his length and his ability to anticipate. I think it's just something that fits us. And if you throw a long pass, maybe we can break on a ball because of our athleticism, or we can deflect it because of our length, or we can get you sped up. I think it fits this group, and that's why we've spent most of the summer studying it, working on it, and we'll see how it plays out as we move forward.
As you guys tinkered with the style this summer, like what was the key for you to like figure out what you wanted to be, but also keep the guys who were here maybe in the loop of what it was going to turn into, and as you're also kind of building a roster?
Well, I think one of the things that happened last year was we played without Kofi. So we got a little bit of a 5-out feel in some of those games, and that was a pretty good snapshot of life without him. And we saw Coleman flourish in those scenarios. Like I said, I've said it many times, we needed big wings. We had to get bigger on the wings, and so that's been a priority in finding athleticism and different size and different positions helps, I hope, make up for Kofi. And then we've got a group of freshmen who can all beat you off the bounce and are pretty good at that. And it's just kind of something we knew, but we got a little bit of a snapshot last year with Kof out.
Talked about role identification. Has Ty Rodgers, you feel like, wrapped his arms around being a energy, momentum changer off the bench already at such a young age?
I wouldn't say off the bench. I don't know. He's pretty good. I think that Ty is a guy that I. It's okay. It's okay, Lauren. Oh, sorry. I know. I think Ty's versatility excites me and scares me, because my tendency is to want to play him at every spot. I need to get him really good at a couple, and his versatility is going to allow him to. We messed around with him the other day with a really small lineup playing the 5. Defensively, he can handle that. He can handle that. And he's played a lot of point. He played a lot of point in our scrimmage, so he's everywhere in between. And I got to get him really comfortable. And he's very, very mature. I wouldn't do that if I didn't think he had the capability of growing into all that. But the one thing that is very evident with Ty, and since he has gotten here, he has never not gone 100% in any drill or any play. And that energy becomes very, very contagious. Now we've got to be able to have him play longer than 12 or 13 minutes and not be in foul trouble. He committed some fouls that I was, to be quite honest, surprised he committed. A couple in the backcourt. But his going to chase a rebound on a missed free throw. He got 2 of them. Those are things that winning players do, and he's a winner. So I'm excited about him.
Obviously, the expectations are different for RJ this year. What's different about him as a player from the end of last year till now?
Throw in last year's film and look at him. The obvious is he's gained 18, 20 pounds. He's a different player. Secondly, with that comes confidence. When you've been through it, and I like to say the best thing that happened to RJ was I wouldn't play him last year. He didn't deserve to be on the floor with us, and now he understands why, and so now he avoids all that, and now he lets his natural ability, his talent. He's a young man who, to be very honest, we had to fight to work last year and to get in the gym extra. Now he's in every day, and he's just become that guy. He's become a guy who shoots a ton of balls. I think he's turned into an elite shooter, and we keep challenging him. On the defensive side every single day. He proved last year he could guard just about anybody. I want him to be better. I want him to be the stopper, and that's something that he's starting to absorb and take part of that. So I just see a whole different RJ Melendez. I see a guy with tremendous confidence. I see his swagger. I see his athleticism, his ability to go catch a lob, his ability to lead the break, his ability to grab a rebound. There's nothing on the court that I don't think he can do. Last year there was a lot of them, a lot of things he couldn't do.
Coach, the early signing period's coming up here pretty quick. Generally speaking, how do you feel like recruiting is going and the talent you're going to be adding to the program?
I'll talk a little bit about that after we that day arrives. But I think we're in a great place. I think we're in a fantastic place. I've got, like I said, I think I've got as good a coaching staff as there is in the country, and I think we're being very selective, and I think we're able to pinpoint and go after and get the guys that we feel fit us.
To follow up on Ty, how do you find yourself to pull back and not do what you said and try to give him too much? Like, what's important for you to not overload him but still maximize what he can do?
Yeah, I just need him to. I want him. You almost see it with guys. You know, it was there's some similarities in a different way to DeMonte when DeMonte was a freshman. DeMonte's IQ, his feel. Here he is coming off an ACL. Isn't a part of anything we do in the summer because of the injury. But all of a sudden, you find him on the floor, and he just does everything to make everybody better. That's Ty. And so you have a different maturity. You have a different IQ and understanding, and you want to maximize that. And along with that, sometimes less is more, and that's where I'm at with Ty. And until he's really, really good at the less, I'm trying not to give him the more, if that makes sense. Yeah, very hard, because he's really good. You want him on the floor at doing a lot of things, but I don't need him grinding on a certain area when he's really flourishing at another area. I need him out there, doing the really positive things. So we'll grow him into those things. Long season.
In that exhibition game, Sky Clark didn't attempt a shot until like 28 seconds left in the first half. Was that more of him just looking to distribute the ball to his teammates? And is that more of a thing we should expect to see in the next game on Monday and moving forward?
No, I thought he took what was there. I thought he was really unselfish. I thought he was a facilitator. Sky's had his best week of practice. We're starting to see, we saw the one-on-one, he and Terrence Shannon go at it, try to dunk on Terrence. We saw that guy this week. And, we've got to get him where he's comfortable in ball screens. And if somebody goes under, he's stopping and shooting it. And those are all things that come. Right now, he's trying to be an unbelievable teammate, an unbelievable leader, an unbelievable point guard. And those things will happen naturally for him. He's wired to score, but he's being a great teammate right now. So I'm really comfortable with where he's at.
What was your process this summer, maybe looking at adjusting your defense? And did you ever get to the point where it's like, I'll just go full hugs on it? And
yeah, we don't have. I knew we didn't have. Maybe enough depth in the back line to go full hugs, and believe me, that was miserable to play against. That was miserable to play against. That was so hard and so challenging. But I think that I didn't want to lose what we do in the half court. Our half court defense, I think, can be something that really excites me. I think we can be really good at it. I think this team's got character. I think they got pride in terms of guarding. So I didn't want to lose that. And be honest, I studied a lot of Billy Donovan, early, late 2012, 13, 14. I studied a lot of what he did. His teams were number one in the country defensively, and yet most of it was in the half court. But they picked up full the entire game. So a lot of studying, a lot of questions, a lot of, talking to different people. You see a little more of that in the NBA, especially in the playoffs, picking up full, just doing really simple things. And again, it's just about being disruption. It's more about helping our half-court defense than it is anything we do in the full court.
Anything else? All right.
See you Monday.